You know, the global manufacturing slowdown has impacted your latest numbers. Do you expect that slowdown to persist?
I think it's industry by industry, it's different. Where we saw it very pronounced is on the robotic side because of the exposure to the automotive market. But in many other areas, actually, during 2019, we were still growing. So it's a real mixed bag out there. But clearly, on the electronic side and also on the automotive side, we saw some slowdown. But otherwise, I think the economy is behaving better than what we expected a few months ago.
But there could be some concerns. I mean, we've been talking here about the coronavirus, for instance, the uncertainty still of phase 2. What would be your biggest worries as you look ahead?
I think the way we look at the macro environment is that we, and as usual as businesses, we want clarity on the framework, on the regulatory side, on the legal side, and then we take a long-term view. So, for example, we are building a big new robotics factory in China, the most modern one ever built in the world, because we are going anti-cyclical against the slowdown in order to be prepared. So, actually, for 2020 or 2021, as we are helping the industries in their transformation on the digital side, I think we are well positioned to help them and help them to increase their productivity. So I think I don't see some big clouds at the horizon which could slow us down.
There seems to be a focus now on renewable energies. How do you see ABB benefiting from that?
I think to give you one number is 60% of our revenues are actually in the field of building the new energy system, renewables, electric vehicle, infrastructure charging, electrifying mobility in its wider sense. That's an absolute key area for us. It's a strategic, strong point which we have, and already 60% are going into those type of businesses, and hence we are enjoying growth. It's also tough competition, but I think our innovation capabilities do help us to win enough revenues to go forward.
So, having said that, you expect to receive more orders from mobility projects and so on and so forth?
We are number one in infrastructure charging for electric vehicles across the world, but we are also working on electrifying buses, trucks, trains and ships. So that is a growth industry which we have. So that's the one side. The other one is clearly on the data centers, for example. They need huge electricity power, etc. These are all growth markets which we are well positioned at this.
Of course, you've embarked on a portfolio review. What kind of asset sales can we expect in 2020? How aggressive will you be?
So we have earmarked in 2019 $3 billion of revenues, which we are looking at. So we either fix them because we see a long-term strategic value for us, or then we actually sell them. So we have sold a few of them already. So we haven't completely closed that program yet, but we will just go through and do that. At the same time, we are also investing. We are buying companies. For example, in China, we bought an EV charging company called ChargeDot. So we are doing both things at the same time to strengthen our businesses which we keep in the long term, but also cleaning the portfolio and selling things where we are not the right owner in the longer term.
How about electrification, your electrification business? Would it make sense for it to be sold? Would the next CEO be doing that?
We have a strategy which we have published and we have agreed in the board of directors and with management. That's based on 4 businesses, including electrification. And that's what the new CEO coming in will develop and strategically execute the plans and increase the operational performance. So there is no talk about bigger portfolio transactions at this stage.
Mr. Voser, 4 more weeks to your term before Mr. Rosenberg takes over. What do you think his priorities should be in the first few years?
I think Björn will come in with his track record of leading business-led structures, which we have implemented now in 2019. So he can finalize that and then actually put a lot of emphasis on operational performance. Our operational performance from a competitive point of view has not matched our expectations over the last few years, and that will be his prime goal, to accelerate the delivery of the strategy and the operational performance. And he will have the time to do this, and we are waiting for him now to take the next step in bringing ABB forward. So.
Lots of questions whether or not Mr. Rosenbergs can actually raise the stock price to 35 francs. That's a 50% upside. Your take on it, how confident are you? I'm
never forecasting share prices. I leave that to the financial market.
What would it take for your share price to get to 35?
That's, I think, the wrong question. Let's answer it a different way. I think we have everything you need to increase the value of the company. How that will be measured in the stock market, I leave to the stock market. But we are so well positioned strategically in all the areas where the world actually will need to generate new technologies, new inventions, will need to digitalize their business models. And that's where ABB with electrification and automation and robotics is actually at home. So from that point of view, there is untapped value, which we will or we want to realize by performing well, gaining the trust of our investors even more, and therefore then the value should be reflected in the stock price. How much that is, I think I leave that to you and others.